And what is the overall outlook over there for our elections? How they're going? What's the feeling? What's the temperature from what they're seeing about how we're doing over here?
Globally, here in France, we think that you guys are in deep doo-doo.
Okay.
Really, we're terrified. We're terrified, literally terrified. Because not very far from where I am, I mean, we've got a war going on in Ukraine at our front door, and the biggest, strongest nation in the world has this clown. We're kind of worried. We really are worried.
Wow, and as are we. Let's go on up to, you're in France. You find that it's the place where you belong. Your heart is singing in the heart of Paris. How do we get to you started teaching at the French Institute of Management, or IFG. I don't know how to say it in French. I'll let you do it. And we have a few other schools. Number one, I see that your schools that you taught at were mainly business, but what you taught was language. Tell me about the journey from, well, tell me first about just the teaching, school system, higher education, what that's like. What was your experience like teaching at these institutes? And why did you find yourself teaching business or in business institutes mostly? Is there a reason?
Here in France, when you're a worker, when you're an employee, okay, your education does not stop at your baccalaureate, your high school diploma or college diploma. Every worker in France, every 2 years or 3 years, has a credit account. He has money that is paid for by his employer for further education. It's mandatory. Your employer has to pay for your continued education.
Wow.
So that people who have a job at McDonald's, for example, when they're 18 years old, that money in 3 years can go to getting training in, I don't know, something else, carpentry, plumbing, or anything something that you want to do in your future. So
nice.
This is programmed in your work. So when I was teaching, I had a credit that I used it about 2 years, every 2 years, because I wanted to go to specific management programs that are very expensive. Anyway, but since I was working in business management schools in adult education, continued education, but in the daytime I was teaching the college students, university students, business English.
Okay.
Because you have to speak as perfect English as possible in an English-speaking business world.
USA.
When you have an international meeting in Paris, it's always done in English.
Isn't it funny? The only thing we are number one still in is getting that money. That's the one thing we never let fall. Talk about that system. You said it's expensive to get into these higher education or adult education afterwards. Right now, America is inundated, stifled, drowning in the student debt, right? But you're saying that what I have a feeling what you call expensive,
right,
can't be what it is here. If everybody can still get it.
Okay. University in France is totally free. Number one.
Wow.
The business schools that I was in are private, government owned. They belong to the government.
Okay.
They're very expensive, and only the best are chosen.
Okay.
I mean, these are high position classes that will take these youngsters to deal. They will become tomorrow's managers of the French government, French businesses. It's very high level, and it is extremely expensive, very expensive.
Okay.
I would say $20,000 a year. But working in the departments where I was working, we are making money, and my activity was paying, well, among the others, we pay 50% of their tuition, automatic.
How's that? How is your...
I'm training, for example, you want to come over and learn French. Okay, so you come over to my school, and we're teaching you French. I provide the teachers, your meals, housing. I provide everything for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. What you're paying me goes to the, eventually, of course, it goes to the Chamber of Commerce, which is part of the government. And that money is thrown back into our tuition for our teachers. It's a circular thing. Okay?
Wow.
You bring in money and you get the benefits, and your boss paid for it, and it goes back to our students. The objective is to create enough money for students to have the best education possible in French business schools. So they only pay 50% of what it really costs.
Wow.
All the teachers in first year, second, there are 3 years. All the teachers must be international. We have Chinese, Americans, Russians, Portuguese, Spanish, Germans, British. They come from all over the world to teach, all over the world. We also have delegations in 3 countries. Berlin, I know of one in Berlin. The other one, I believe, is in Oxford. I think that's still running. So I haven't been there in 20 years, but so our students, if their English is relatively good, they can go and study for 6 months or 1 year, Oxford or Berlin, to continue in their business classes. Okay, so it's extremely international. Like I said, we're only 3 hours by train from Paris. So we had teachers who were living in London who would come in and teach for the day, go home at night.
Okay. Wow. So this idea of public/private owned, this is something where when I decided that I wanted to have this conversation with you, and I liked the idea of anchoring it in healthcare, is because this is what you guys literally call Social Security. But the American version of it is not really the same. But our idea, and we're going to move on to the healthcare, and I want to know how you went, from teaching to being elected. What drove you to decide to start working in politics or to work for the people? And I want to get to this idea of how we can mimic something like that, because the public and private cooperation in healthcare especially, but also in the schooling, is just something that we're just missing here in America, but I think is probably the best way to go for ultra-capitalist society that also still has to find a way to make healthcare, make education a right. It has to go that way at some point. And I think the example the French has set, not only for the rest of the world who seems to love it, but especially for us, could be used if we could find a way to make it work like that. Explain that public-private relationship. We'll start with healthcare, and start by letting us know what got you into wanting to run for office in the first place, and see if we can navigate that.
Okay. In a small commune that I live in, we don't consider it political at all. I have no idea what political party our mayor belongs to, and give, the handicapped or for elderly, grocery shopping.
I have family in different system. Let's see if we can unpack it to see how it could work here. Something like that could work here.
Okay. We do not have a private sector in the strict sense of your term.
Okay.
The private sector does not exist in the capitalist way of thinking. But it's a parallel system, and they mix. They're mixed. They're totally mixed. Public means anyone, homeless person off the street, or the director of the biggest bank of France. When they go to the doctor, they are treated automatically, no questions asked, where the money is coming from. Money cannot interfere, otherwise they would be in prison tomorrow morning.
Wow.
You just don't do them. So public does not mean something lesser. The doctors, nurses, whatever, the government regulates how much money they can charge you. You go to see your doctor because you've got a bad cold, you pay him $25 and you are reimbursed minus $3 the next month.
Okay.
But you have to pay it out. You have to pay it because the government wants people to understand that none of all this is totally free. I mean, that's a very poor mentality to have. You are using money that comes from our taxes, so you have to be a little responsible. But you are paid back. The money goes to your bank account, no problem. Okay. I have a complimentary insurance because if I pay my doctor $25 for the visit and I only get $22 back, that's $3 out of my pocket.
Yes.
Okay? When I was much younger and didn't need as much medical care, I didn't take a comp because I was in good health, and I've been in relatively good health all my life.
Right.
But as I got older, I have to go to my ophthalmologist a couple times a year, and I'm getting older, and I had a horrible accident that I'd like to talk about later on.
Well, we can get right to that. But explain.
So
go ahead.
Excuse me, just finish. So my complimentary insurance makes sure that I don't pay one penny out of any act. I pay that $71 a month.
That's basically like your taxes.
That's my choice, you see.
Okay.
It's not obligatory. I choose to buy this supplement.
But why?
Yeah, that's our next why.
Because I'm getting older, and I'm definitely going to need more medication, more health care, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So what makes buying that better than the government's version? I think that's the question.
Yeah.
Well, the government version is you still have to pay out of pocket a certain percentage. Whereas if you have a comp, you don't pay anything.
But you're paying $71 a month.
Yeah.
So it ends up being less because you're paying per month rather than every visit. That's what you're saying. Okay.
I'll give you.
Got you.
I'll give you one concrete example. It was an accident, but accidents happen.
Yes.
Especially as you get older. I was working on the terrace here, and there was a plank that had been ill-fitted. I fell through one floor, crashed on the cement. My skull was fractured. This was open. My skull was open. Okay. The boys across the street could hear me screaming, so they called the firemen. The firemen are the first responders in France. You always call the firemen. They are trained professionals.
Right.
They came, and immediately they saw that it was pretty bad. They contact the emergency in the hospital 12 miles away. Emergency says, okay, we're sending over the ambulances. The ambulances arrived 11 minutes later with an emergency doctor on board.
Okay.
They load me into the ambulance. It's a big truck, but anyway, with all the equipment and whatever they need. Take me to the emergency room in a hospital in Bly, 24 kilometers from here. And immediately they take you into the ward, and they sent me immediately after the doctor said, okay, I want this. They sent me to the scan, 2 scans, body, skull, x-rays, IRM. Since the brain specialist was not on duty in that hospital at that time, it's another hospital where they are connected with Zoom and all sorts of equipment. And it goes immediately to the doctor in the boom, and the brain surgeon in the boom said, okay, do this. By the time they brought me back to the emergency room, the doctor knew what he had to do.
Okay.
So they sewed me up, okay, and they kept me on 24 hours monitor in the emergency. I had my own private room, 3 days. And all that, because of my comp, I paid exactly zero.
Wow. And
Zero. I didn't pay a penny.
Excuse me, I had to sneeze. I apologize. So, and you're still just paying the 70-something per month. But if you went through the normal public channels, if you didn't have that, that would have cost how much more?
$500. I have an example sitting right next to me. Went into
hold on, wait.
Septic shock.
Can we have a moment of silence for $500 for brain surgery? I don't think.
No. Wait. Let me explain. It's worse than that. Person sitting right next to me. Well, you know Laura. We're friends. A small tumor burst in the esophagus in the middle of the night. It's going into septic shock. I called the exact same people that I was talking about for my accident. They came, emergency scan, the whole thing, operated immediately in the middle of the night. 13 days in the hospital with bags all over the place, and 13 days in the hospital, out of pocket, $500. Because he did not have the comp. The rest was paid for by, normal means. So
wow, that would have cost in America, either one of those, you would have been in debt for $20,000 or more for the rest of your life.
Oh God, yeah.
With interest every month.
That included, of course, the ambulance, the emergency room, all the equipment. It includes it all: transportation, housing, rooms, telephone. It includes everything, okay?
And America is supposed to be the richest country on earth.
It is.
And if I can just jump in, it's pretty much the same here. I've been hospitalized multiple times over my life and never had to pay a dime.
So I wanted to ask
surgeries and everything.
I was going to get right to you, Laura. The big difference between public and private was not what I thought it was, thanks to Pro Aquitaine. But in Canada, the backlash that we hear this difference is things like wait times or talk about that in Canada as best you can, Laura. Then we'll come right back to you, Pro.
In the UK too, there's a lot of wait time and poor services and paperwork and hoops to jump through and all that sort of thing. But then we have some alternatives. Like we could go to, like, for example, when I was being diagnosed for my manic depression, I went to universities, like learning, teaching programs, or when I was being tested for my sleep apnea, I went to a sleep clinic and things like that. But, I've had major surgeries. I mean, since I was a child, I don't know how many times I've been in the hospital. And my family were not poor, not rich, not dirt poor, but
Yeah.
we would have been.
You would have been dirt poor if you lived in America.
Yeah, wiped out. Yeah. But there's just certain things that we don't cover, like eye doctor and dentist. We just now started adding eye and dental and vision care for certain categories of age group and eligibility. And we have the federal healthcare system, and underneath that are the provincial healthcare systems, which are all different per province.
So in your case, the specialized services aren't paid for really, just the general, basically, like emergency checkup, stuff like that. But if you needed specialized hearing or something like that.
My brother-in-law had cancer and heart issues and multiple kidney and stone issues over his life, and same thing, was completely covered. Never had to pay out of pocket.
Wow. So it seems to me, it seems to me that what made me want to have this conversation with you about the French way as opposed to the Canadian way is this idea that because we are who we are here in America, we've got to just be honest. Like the powers that be will never let it just be socialized medicine in a way that you're never going to pay. But if you can promise that, kind of like an expansion of what Obamacare is, if you can promise insurance companies and doctors or whatever that, hey, we can come up with a way where you can still make money, you can still have people join a private way, you can charge them $1,000 a month if you want to, if you have to be greedy. We're going to pay for the first 500 of it. It seems like that is the cleanest way to get our money-hungry people as happy as possible and still be able to have something close to what you have there. Am I right? Am I wrong? What are the pitfalls you see as someone yourself who's served in government and who watches what we do here very closely? Am I right or wrong?
Yes and no, but more yes, I agree. Our health system, minus a couple of details compared to Canada, have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Really a lot in common. The number two, in France, since it is the government that is Lord Almighty on prices and costs, they negotiate with the pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals don't impose their prices. Insulin, for example, in France is free because we imposed it. Either you bring in your products in France and we'll pay you the fair price,
yep,
or we'll find somebody else. Don't come to me. We are not beggars.
Money in politics.
And the doctors have to obey that standing. They can prescribe medication that is authorized, controlled, and pharmaceuticals do not impose.
I'm still here.
Prices. Yep.
I'm still here. Sorry, I just wanted you.
They don't impose their prices. That's as simple as that. If you want to pay $1,000 an hour for a specialist, go for it, buddy. If you got the money, go for it. We don't care. But we pay this amount for everyone.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it. It's a centralized government. I know for Americans is a no, but that's where the right wing is. Women's health care. They're in your bedroom and no watching porn. Don't tell me that they don't want a centralized government.
We're gonna bring this full circle right here. What you just said takes it all the way back to the initial problem that we found when we first started talking. This money, this unlimited money in politics, that goes as much to the as much to the candidates as it does to the media, has basically been the bane of our existence as Americans, in my opinion. What you just said there, the main thing that stops us from having that is the fact that pharmaceutical companies pay to never be able to negotiate. Joe Biden just came up with somehow the ability to negotiate 10 drugs. That's it. And it's amazing. I'm going to say that's amazing because we didn't have it before. Capping insulin prices for Medicare and Medicaid. Capping the yearly insulin price or for all prescriptions for Medicare and Medicaid. Now, this is such a feat to us only because of how much corruption, legal, given corruption that we allow here, and that's what it comes back to. I agree with the plan. I think the French plan is the way to go here, but what's really stopping it is the fact that you can't do it as long as people are paid off, and as pharmaceutical companies can charge $1 billion where it's made with government funding. The government helps to fund the research for this. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then they go to France, and France says, no, we're going to pay a fair price. And so they come here to the people who funded it and jack it up.
Yeah. It's exactly the same company that sells us insulin for pennies, and they charge Americans hundreds of dollars. It's the same company and the same pills, for God's sakes.
My God.
Thanks to everybody for being here, and our new members too. Poochie Ann, Angela, our wonderful Angela B, who's done so much for us, and Patty Wax, Ms. P. Dubs. Thank you guys. Thanks for the memberships, and I hope you enjoyed this. Does anybody have any? One last question.
Yeah, we want to take questions.
Angela asked earlier what your plans are. How does France plan to keep Marine Le Pen from gaining power?
Yes, let's talk about this, because I had a whole section about this. I just skipped over it because we were doing so well with other stuff.
The fascist party has always been part of the political scene in France. Always.
I want to make sure that we call it what it is. The National Rally, which was the National Rally, is now the National Front. This is the fascist right-wing party. They started, of course, with Jean-Marie, the father of Marie Le Pen, basically saying, consider, I think this is the actual quote, consider that the French don't need immigrants. We don't need them at all. Get rid of them. Sound familiar? Anybody? Sound familiar? Right. So talk about it.
Argument is they're anti-immigrant. They don't have anything else.
That's it.
I mean, that's it. They've been beating on this drum ever since I've been here in France 50 years. They were here before that. They're so anti-immigrant. France has always been a land of immigration. Until the Hun.
I saw something the other day. Someone said it suddenly hit them why Trump keeps going on about Hannibal Lecter wanting to have you for dinner. It's because he's thinking, he puts asylum seekers, when he hears the word asylum, he thinks insane asylum.
I heard that.
So he thinks all these immigrants are coming over here from insane asylums looking to be in insane asylums. What?
Is a perfect good point. I like that.
That is it. I heard that too somewhere, and I was like, that's exactly what he thinks. That's why he doesn't understand the question when they ask him, why are you talking about it? Oh my God.
What really makes me laugh is when the orange blob says the fascists, the communists, the this, the that. He puts everybody,
Yeah.
all those labels onto one person. No idea. No idea what those words mean.
No. We found out yesterday that he had no idea what those words meant, as he got grilled about DEI and was lost. So wait a minute. Let's answer the question though, because not that it matters to us as much as our election matters to you, because we don't seem to care about whatever happens on the rest of the world. But in all actuality, you're not going to be able to go through a snap election every cycle. And that was a dangerous thing. You had almost lost all of the investors to the sphere of a right-wing election, and then you almost lost them due to this proposal of the snap election that Macron had. You were really on the edge there for a minute. What's the plan?
Okay, what election was it exactly? Who and what were we electing for?
You tell me the president.
No, that's the whole point. It was not a presidential election. That's impossible. It was a legislative election. Macron is still president. They can't throw him out of office. It was a legislative move.
Okay, and so not enough of the parties got 51%. No one of them got 51%. So it had to be divided into three.
That's usual here, yeah.
As usual.
Oh, that's normal. Perfectly normal. It happens all the time.
So why was it such a big deal?
Why was it such a big deal? I think it was hyped up because of Marine Le Pen. Who's with Putin. We all know that. And that's why I think it got a lot of coverage. But people thought, in France we knew what we were electing. People thought that France was going to remove the president and elect Marine Le Pen's man, Bordella, I think his name is, as president. No, that's not at all what it was about. Macron's move was to show that maybe his party was, not really as popular as it could be. He had less than 50%, etc. But in his mind, he said,
let's find out.
Marine Le Pen party is not going to get it.
Yep.
No way.
And he was right.
He was right.
He was right.
Third.
Wow.
He won.
He did. My friend, Mr. Pro Aquitaine, thank you so much. Monsieur, I'm going to learn a little French so I won't be a dumb American. Monsieur, merci. You are a wealth of knowledge. You're awesome to talk to, and I'm honored to have you join us, and we will be doing this again and often about a lot of different topics. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, merci bien, and I'll see you maybe later in another chat.
I'll be online later on tonight.
There you go. All right, guys. Thank you.
Allez. Au revoir.
Au revoir. And I'll tell you what, before I leave, guys, if you're a member here, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank God it's Friday. Will probably be a reposting of this that will be cut down and shortened for the public view. It means everything to us that you're here.